Hey everybody, it's Christine. Welcome to the Just Cards video hop for April. This month we are focusing on cards with flowers, and so of course I dug into my stamps and inks to do some fun florals. I am using a couple of stamps from Hampton Arts, and then I'm going to be using archival ink and also distress inks from Tim Holtz. So I'm starting off by stamping this big black flower, and I'm using a stamping platform along with my Ranger archival ink just to create a cascade of this flower going down the card. I am working in a square card base today using a 5.5 by 5.5 card. And this flower specifically was the inspiration for this card. I love to do fussy cutting, and I love to use my craft knife to do that. And so you're going to see some of that coming up very soon with this specific flower. I knew it was one that I could work with for the technique that I wanted to do. Now, one of the cool things about this specific stamp set is that it's a layered stamp. So you can actually make a solid base behind the doodled looking flower. I didn't, obviously, but you can see I am adding a center onto each of these. And it's got all these neat little pieces to it. So it's really a fun set to check out. I'm going to be playing more with the layering later in the month. So be sure to keep your eyes out for that. And you can see I am now adding on some additional flowers. And these are just some simple shaped flowers. They're solid, and that was the look I was going for specifically with those. And they have a bigger one and a smaller one on it, and these ones actually come from the Bohemian Brew stamp set from Jelly Bean Soup. And you can see the design kind of taking shape here. I am working my way down. Now, if you're wondering why am I using an acrylic block here versus my stamping platform, there are some stamps that I just find are a little bit easier to use without the stamping platform, and specifically it's little ones like that. I feel like I get a little bit more control when I'm using them. Now, here we go with my craft knife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my craft knife and I'm just going to go around 3 of the petals in these flowers, basically every other petal. And I am just going to pull those up and curl them and give them some really fun, cool dimension. Now, if you've watched some of my scrapbooking videos, this is not a new technique for me. I have done this in several layouts, and I will link you to those at the end of this video. But I don't know that I've done it on a card before. And I've done it with patterned papers. I've done it with ones that I've drawn. This is actually the first time I have done this technique with a stamped image. So I've done it in a variety of ways, but this time I am employing a slightly different technique. So what I'm going to do after I've got those all cut up is I'm going to just take my Easy Runner Grand from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L and just get a lot of adhesive on the back of that and then secure it onto white. I'm going to stamp this really pretty sentiment from a Bible verse, and then I am going to add some color to this thing. Now, I am going to use distress inks to do some watercolor painting, basically. I am using Candied Apple to color in all my flowers, and all I'm doing is I'm just putting a little of that distress ink onto my acrylic block. I add a squirt or two of water, and then I just start painting. I'm not going for a real neat, precise look at all. I'm going for a watercolor look, so I'm going for kind of a loose adding color, but not necessarily trying to fill in every nook and cranny. And you can see that approach as it comes in. I ended up doing a couple layers of this because I started off with a little bit of a lighter red that was not quite giving me the pop that I wanted. I'm also going to add on just a little strip of washi tape there to the edge in kind of a teal color. And then that's going to help create my color scheme a little more. And if you look at my distress inks that I have out right now, you can get a catch a drift of what color scheme I'm going for. So I'm going to use the Peacock Feathers Distress ink to fill in my little hearts that I stamped onto the card. And that is the only other place I'm going to bring that color in besides the washi tape. It's not a huge part of it, but it does add a really nice little accent to the whole thing. finally, I'm going to bring in my fossilized amber distress oxide. Now, I went for this one instead of a distress ink because I just really love this shade of yellow. Had no other reason. I wasn't looking for the properties of the oxide versus the ink or anything like that. I just wanted that specific yellow. I just love it. So I'm going to just use that and fill in all the center, and then I'm going to create a whole background using it also. As I was creating this, I realized I really would have liked it even more if I had stamped, or not stamped, but done like a packaging technique or something to create a watercolor background along the back. And I didn't do that. And so this was my solution to doing that. I create this whole yellow background just using my paintbrush, and I just used a small paintbrush so that it was easy to get into all those different little spots. Again, I'm not going for real precise, and I'm kind of creating a diagonal following the cascade of the flowers and the sentiment on there. Nothing real complicated here by any means, and it actually ended up working really well. You know, had I done the packaging technique and then done my stamping, I wouldn't have had my flowers be white, and there's just so many different elements to it. So this actually ended up working really nicely to achieve the look that I was envisioning as I went on. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is just add in some little details. I've got some really pretty sequins here from Spiegel Mom Scraps, and I'm just going to use those on there. I'm going to use some mini adhesive dots from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L and just put those kind of along the outside of the yellow just to bring in another little bit of texture to the whole thing. I'm also going to finish the whole thing off with some mist splatters in that same red. I'm going to just put some more onto my acrylic block and do some mist splatters from the watercolor that I did earlier. So thank you so much for being here today. I do want to remind you that this is a video hop, so there are lots of videos to inspire you. They're all floral, lots of inspiration for Mother's Day and spring and all the fun, wonderful things that we have coming up in the next couple of months. Be sure to swing by and check out all those videos. I'll have you linked up to all of them below, and we will see you again very soon.